Hi, Internet. It's Emily SW.
Sam.
We're here with another Podcastle. I've lost count. I think I lost count about 5 episodes ago.
This should be 12. I only know that because I made a mental note that the one last time was 11.
So Podcastle number 12.
Yeah, we're really building up a library here.
We are, and we're coming at you with another poetry segment. This time with a previous guest. Someone we've discussed before, Ann Radcliffe.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe we should get the ghosts of these authors to come.
That would be a big get. I bet we could really, if we could make that work. We'll have to work on that. Haunted Heart Society, Ghost Hunting Edition, coming soon.
I think it would be fun, though, to do a ghost hunt.
It would be fun.
Nothing would happen.
No.
But it'd be fun.
It would be fun.
Just to, I don't know, walk around someplace cool at night.
Yeah, and see what shakes out of the sky.
Yeah.
Well, and I was just thinking, too, we could take a little field trip to wherever Ann Radcliffe lived in England, I've forgotten. And
a little field trip?
Just a little field trip, you know? Just pop over the ocean. It would be an excuse to travel. Anyways, we have to work on the science of getting deceased Gothic writers.
Getting as guests on the show.
Yeah. But anyways, we are doing some Ann Radcliffe poetry this time. Now, and we did discuss this when we talked about her novel writing, which was more well-received.
If you don't remember, her novel was The Mysteries of Udolpho.
Correct. Which was popular. Very popular. She made a lot of money. But her poetry apparently flopped. People did not like her poetry.
I'm excited to see how bad it is. It may be a good thing she's not here in case this turns into a roast.
That's true. It might. Well, and the other thing about it is, I think we as a modern audience, kind of any sort of older poetry kind of sounds cheesy sometimes. Like, depending on what the subject matter is. I don't know, we'll have to see.
Well, here was my thought. This is either going to be not as bad as her contemporaries thought.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be terrible, or it'll just be alright. Which I guess is the same as the first point.
You've run the gamut.
But yeah, those are the choices. Either it's actually good and they were criticizing her too harshly, or it's actually bad.
Lest you forget, audience. I did take poetry classes in college. I do have an English degree. However, my poetry chops are basically, did I vibe with it? Yes or no. That's how I rate poems. Is it a vibe? Did I like the vibe?
That's a good criteria, though, I think, because that's what poems are about. And when Emily was here, I was saying that poems are an expression using words, so it doesn't have to necessarily be like a logical story the way a novel is.
No, I totally agree with that. We were talking earlier, I was telling it, because I really like modern kind of freeform poetry. Could not dissect that very well. I didn't do a lot of modern poetry in college, so I really don't. I just like it. Is the imagery good? Sold. What does it mean? I don't know. But it painted a picture, and I felt an emotion. So that's kind of what we're going for here. We've selected a couple entries. 3, actually. And they have a theme. See if you can guess. So the first poem we will be reading by Miss Radcliffe is called Morning.
As in the time of day.
Yes. Morning.
Not morning. As in... Because it's not a poem by Poe.
No, it is not a poem. It is just poetry by Ann Radcliffe. So there is no potentially incestuous love interest. Maybe there is, I don't know, I haven't read it.
Well, we're about to find out.
We're about to find out. So I'll read this one, I guess.
Okay.
Morning. Darkness.
We're off to a good start.
Okay, well, the thing that threw me off is that this word is THRO.
Throw.
And
like through?
I think it's throw. Well, I'll read it, and if it's wrong, I'll do it again.
Okay.
But that's what threw me off, is like, is that through or throw? I've never seen throw abbreviated.
I guess in doubt, you just have to go with what makes the most phonetic sense.
Yes.
Which is not really saying much about the English language.
Well, let's read the poem and we'll talk about it. Darkness, throw thy chilling glooms, weakly trembles twilight grey. Twilight? No, I think it's through. I don't know, what do you think?
Darkness throw thy chilling glooms, weakly trembles twilight grey. Twilight fades and morning comes, and melts thy shadow swift away. I think that is probably a way of speaking that we don't do anymore.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll just carry on. I'll just carry on from the next one, because you did that first stanza so well.
Thank you.
She comes in her ethereal car, involved in many a varying hue. and through the azure shoots afar, spirit, light, and life anew. See, that one had an apostrophe.
It does, yes.
Her breath revives the drooping flowers, her ray dissolves the dews of night, recalls the sprightly moving hours, and the green scene unveils in light. Hers the fresh gale that wanders wild, o'er mountain top and woodland glade, and fondly steals the breath, beguiled, of every flower and every shade. Mother of roses, bright Aurora, hail! Thee shall the chorus of the hours salute, and song of early birds from every vale, and blithesome horn and fragrant zephyr mute. And oft as rising o'er the plain, thou and thy roseate nymphs appear, this simple song in choral strain from rapturing bards shall meet thine ear.
Oh, and then it gives us the song.
And then the chorus. Dance ye lightly, lightly on, 'tis the bold lark through the air, hails your beauties with his song, lightly, lightly, fleeting air. Okay, I do have beef with her now.
Okay, let's hear it.
The poem itself, fine, but the actual physical well, they're not physically words. The words. So in the first line we have darkness throw thy chilling gloom, which I think is through. THRO. No apostrophe, no nothing. And then in the next stanza, and through the azure shoots afar. That's THRO apostrophe, which indicates that it's an abbreviated word. And then it happened again. She's got so many, not over, O apostrophe ER, which is pretty common in Old English poetry. So I guess I can allow it. But this one line of every flower in every shade, she just cut out the E's. It's EV apostrophe RY, every. FLOW apostrophe R, flower. In every EV apostrophe RY. I understand.
That's so you didn't say every flower in every shade.
Yeah, I get it, but it's kind of annoying to look at, I'll be honest. And maybe this is because I don't speak properly, so I was gonna say every regardless. I don't pronounce every.
Yeah, because that's how people speak.
That's how people speak, yeah.
Clearly they liked it well enough to write their poems that way.
It just doesn't look good. I don't know. Maybe this is a pet peeve. This is petty. And then I really don't like this line. Thee shall the chorus of the hours salute. Something about that's just clunky.
Because it throws off the rhyme scheme.
It was very consistent and kind of snappy and melodic. It had a rhythm.
Yeah. Salute, I mean, she did that to rhyme with mute. But that's not even really a true rhyme, because salute and mute.
And even that, I don't know, that it just gets kind of clunky near the end. I liked the beginning imagery, but this and blithesome horn and fragrant zephyr mute. I don't know, it just got kind of clunky at the end. We lost the flow.
It's also a very simple poem.
It is.
The imagery is nice.
Yeah,
it's easy to understand.
It is. I could see it in my mind's eye.
And then we've got bards singing.
It's true. Man, she was in a real Disney princess mourning. To have, the birds and the fragrant flowers and people singing and nymphs.
It's got a little bit of everything.
It does.
Based on that one so far, do we think actually bad or not that bad?
It's not my favorite poem, I'll tell you what. But
I mean, you can just say it wasn't good.
I didn't enjoy it. Yeah.
She's not actually here.
No, that's true. I don't have to be nice
to
about it.
be offended or B, fight with you about it.
I have beef. I have beef. So that's where I'm at right now. I have beef.
Okay, so far we're agreeing with her contemporaries and the critics.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Not that good.
Okay, well, we've got 2 more poems.
Okay. This one is called Evening. Evening veiled in dewy shades slowly sinks upon the main. See, the empurpled glory fades beneath her sober, chastened rein. Around her car the pensive hours and sweet elapses meet the sight, crowned their brows with closing flowers, rich with crystals dews of night. Now see, I said crystals, but there's no R in that word. But kistel doesn't feel like a word.
No, and chistel isn't either.
Crystal would make sense there, though. However.
Yeah, unless it's supposed to be chastity? I don't know.
Anyway. Her hands the dusky hues arrange o'er the fine tints of parting day. Insensibly the colors change, and languish into soft decay. Wide o'er the waves her shadowy veil she draws, as faint they lie along the distant shores. Through the still air I mark each solemn pause, each rising murmur which the wild wave pours. A browner shadow spreads upon the air, and o'er the scene a pensive grandeur throws. The rocks, the woods, a wilder beauty wear, and the deep wave in softer music flows. And now the distant view where vision fails, twilight and gray obscurity pervade, tint following tint each darkening object veils, till all the landscape sinks into the shade. Oft from the airy steep of some lone hill, while sleeps the scene beneath the purple glow, and evening lives o'er all serene and still, rapt let me view the magic world below, and catch the dying gale that swells remote, that steals the sweetness from the shepherd's flute, the distant torrent's melancholy note, and the soft warblings of the lover's lute. Still through the deepening gloom of bowery shades, to fancy's eye fantastic forms appear. Low whispering echoes steal along the glades, and thrill the ear with wildly pleasing fear. Parent of shades, of silence, dewy airs, of solemn musing and of vision wild, to thee my soul her pensive tribute bears, and hails thy gradual step, thy influence mild. I had no flow at all.
No, and I was gonna say, in the morning one, not that it was narrative, but it kind of flowed in a way where it kind of built to a point and it ended on the bars. Like, it made sense. It was...
Well, because it was the rising sun.
Yes.
And then it described all the things that happen as the sun rises and the earth warms up and...
Yeah, like, it had a progression, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This just went on and on. Like,
it tried to.
Yes. It did try to, but, like, to me, I was like, this needs some editing. I feel like you could have cut 2, maybe 3 stanzas out of this, and you wouldn't have changed the overall meaning or the effect.
You know what I was thinking? It reads like someone's rough draft.
Yeah. And now I must admit, I was rooting for her. I was like, I bet it's not as bad. Poetry is not her strong suit. Like, her rhymes get a little forced. She loses the meter. Like you said, there's not a lot of flow. Like, the lines get clunky and uneven. And I did like the second stanza. Her hands the dusky hues arrange, or the fine tints of parting day. Insensibly the colors change and languish into soft decay.
You could have stopped there. That could have been the whole poem.
Honestly, yes. Languish into soft decay, banger. Good line. I really liked that line, and I was like, oh. But then we derailed. And there was another, like, some of her phrasing I do enjoy, but, it was this one. Still through the deepening gloom of bowery shades, to fancy's eye fantastic forms appear. I like that line, to fancy's eye fantastic forms appear. Now, is this because I have a soft spot for alliteration? Maybe. I do enjoy some alliteration, but I like that line. And I like the last one, too. Parents of shades, of silence, dewy airs. It was also interesting to me, though, the way that she's painting both morning and evening as women. But, I mean, I guess, like, when you think of in popular, well, in, like, culture and societal, at least in Western, it's not like either one of those attributes are typically male, right? Like, usually the sun is masculine and the moon is feminine.
Which is what I was going to say. I was trying to figure out how to, like, lead into that. Because she's describing the sun rising and the sun setting.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, yes, we associate the sun with masculine elements.
Yeah.
And the moon with feminine.
So that is interesting that she's using...
Unless she's just referring to, like, Mother Nature.
That's true. She is very distinctly describing the sun, though. With the colors specifically. And I mean, she talks about the ocean here, which that has nothing to do with evening, like nightfall, so I don't know why that came in. Oh, I guess the moon controls tides, right? That's our second of 3 poems. I prefer the morning one. This one, I did like that line, and languish into soft decay. That was cool.
Yeah, this one was clunkier than the morning one. There were a lot of lines that I was reading it, and it just wasn't as nice to the ear.
No.
Because it's like they weren't, like, the right length, or it wasn't, rhyme scheme wasn't quite working.
Well, and I also feel this is a personal opinion, that poetry is as a form is kind of meant to be read, like, it's supposed to be spoken. It's supposed to be read aloud. Regardless of what kind of, even if it's like modern, like free-form sonnets, odes, like whatever form of poetry you're using, I think there's nothing like listening to a good poem spoken by a good orator. This is very difficult to read aloud because it's so clunky. Mm-hmm. So I think, like you said, it needs an editor. Like, it smacks of a first draft. Okay, so that was evening. We've got one more. And if you haven't guessed the theme yet, maybe you'll get it now. Third poem, last one for this episode. This poem is called Night. Now evening fades, her pensive step retires, and night leads on the dews and shadowy hours, her awful pomp of planetary fires, and all her train of visionary powers. These paint with fleeting shapes the dream of sleep, these swell the waking soul with pleasing dread. These through the glooms and forms terrific sweep, and rouse the thrilling horrors of the dead. Queen of the solemn thought, mysterious night, whose step is darkness, and whose voice is fear. Thy shades I welcome with Sorry, I'm not laughing at the poem, I'm laughing because this poem is way better than the other ones. Anyways. Thy shades I welcome with severe delight, whose step is darkness, and whose voice is fear. Thy shades I welcome with severe delight, and hail thy hollow gales that sigh so dear. When wrapped in clouds and riding in the blast, thou roll'st the storm along the sounding shore, I love to watch the whelming billows cast on rocks below and listen to the roar. Thy milder terrors, night, I frequent woo. That was a little awkward. Thy milder terrors, night, I frequent woo. Thy silent lightnings and thy meteors glare, thy northern fires bright with ensanguined hue, that light in heaven's high vault the fervid air. But chief I love thee when thy lucid car sheds through the fleecy clouds a trembling gleam, and shews the misty mountain from afar, the nearer forest and the valley's stream, and nameless objects in the vale below, that floating dimly to the musing eye, assume at fancy's touch fantastic shew, and raise her sweet romantic visions high. Then let me stand amidst thy glooms profound, on some wild woody steep, and hear the breeze that swells in mournful melody around, and faintly dies upon the distant trees. What melancholy charm steals o'er the mind, what hallowed tears the rising rapture greet, while many a viewless spirit in the wind sighs to the lonely hour in accents sweet. Ah, who the dear illusions pleased would yield, which fancy wakes from silence and from shades, for all the sober forms of truth revealed, for all the scenes that day's bright eye pervades.
Well, that's what I expected from an author of the Gothic.
Yes, I was just about to say, now this, we are ending on a high note.
It's not the highest note.
No.
But it's an improvement.
It's the best poem we've read by her. I would not call it the best poem we've read, period.
No.
See, this kind of feels like she wrote Evening first, and then was like, I could do better. And then she wrote this. Well, first of all, I noticed she uses the term car in every poem.
I was also going to remark about that.
But, and specifically with Evening, she has the part about the shore in here as well. Like, I don't know, I just feel like since this exists, we don't need Evening at all.
No, you know what I was thinking while you were reading it? I was wondering if she wrote the other poems just so that these would go together and you'd have the full scope of daytime, instead of because she felt strongly about these times of days and wanted to evoke something about it.
She has some really good, like the first two stanzas were very Gothic. These swell the waking soul with pleasing dread. Like, oof.
Well, there's little spirits in there too.
Yeah, the thrilling horrors of the dead. Thy shades I welcome with severe delight. Which shades could be, obviously like darkness, but I was thinking shades like dark spirits.
Yeah, ghosts.
Ghosts. Oh, I did note here though, I love to watch the whelming billows. That just thinks of that joke, it's like, well, you could be overwhelmed, or you could be underwhelmed. I'm just whelmed. Like, that's what that made me think of. I've never heard the word whelming used anywhere. Oh, and this is kind of where it fell apart, though, because then in this stanza, it's thy milder terrors night I frequent woo. That's just really...
Going back to the whelming billows for a minute, this has got to be another ocean thing.
Yeah.
On the rocks below, listen to the roar. Did they have, perhaps, a home by the sea?
Oh, let's see if I can find that information.
Because if she was in a particular place writing these, maybe she was just describing her observations, and that's why, because you said the ocean was mentioned in evening and it kind of seemed irrelevant.
Yeah.
But if she was, at a seaside home, maybe that's why she included it.
I don't think so, though, because I'm pretty sure...
Maybe they took a vacation.
Okay, so they traveled to the Netherlands and Germany. It was Radcliffe's only trip abroad. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about... Oh, okay, here we go. They traveled domestically almost once a year from 1797 to 1811. So it's possible.
Okay.
Okay, I can't find the year that she wrote this poem, but she could have been traveling. That's the moral of that story. But yeah, this is definitely the most gothic poem of hers we read. And the best poem of hers we read. But still not my favorite poem.
So, in conclusion,
I have to side with Ann Radcliffe's contemporaries. I think she should stick with what she's good at, which is novels.
I agree. I kind of went into this being like, I bet it's not as bad as they said it was, but then it kind of was as bad as they said it was.
Yeah, then it was. There were some good vibes, some good lines. Overall, C+. Passing grade, but not the best. Needs work. So that's it for our Ann Radcliffe poetry experiment.
Unfortunately, her poetry just,
it doesn't hit.
It was as bad as everyone said it was.
Sorry, Miss Radcliffe. Rest assured, we will still preach your praises, the Mysteries of Udolpho.
We are not turning into a poetry podcast.
No, it's just we're working on a longer book right now, and it's...
Yeah, it takes more time to read those.
Yes.
We just, aside from the War of the Worlds, when we recorded the War of the Worlds episode, I had never read it up to that point. But I think every other novel we talked about, we had already read previously.
Or at least one of us had.
Yeah. But now we're going to come in with something totally new that neither of us had read previous.
Yeah, so it's just taken a while. And it's also like, the thing with War of the Worlds is that went fast. That's a snappy book.
Yes, it is.
And the book we're currently working on is not quite as snappy.
No, it is not.
So stay tuned for that. And we've got some short stories coming up. We've got the novel. Yeah, so hopefully this will be the last poetry one for a while.
Well, here's the other thing, too. How many Gothic authors also wrote poems?
That's true. I bet a lot of them did. We've already seen that.
You've got Poe, of course, who's like the king of Gothic.
Yeah.
At least in the United States.
At least American Gothic, yeah.
We've also got... I wouldn't say that Lord Byron is himself a Gothic author.
No,
he's used in Gothic.
he's central
Quite
to
a lot.
Lord Byron is central. Lord Byron is essential to the existence of Gothic in a very tertiary way.
We have his works, and I also have that Percy Shelley, who is, I don't think, a Gothic author either, but he's adjacent to one.
No, I mean, he was married to the mother of science fiction, the gothest woman to ever live, Mary Shelley.
Basically.
That's interesting. We'll have to look into that. That sounds like a hypothesis. We'll come at you with the research later. How many Gothic novelists or Gothic authors also have poetry? Further research is required. I don't think H.G. Wells had any... Not that he was really Gothic.
H.G. Wells doesn't strike me as a poet author, though he does have a lot of shorter stories.
He does.
As well. And most of his stories I would classify as, like, sci-fi horror.
So that's it for this episode. We're gonna come at you with some short stories and novels after this. Stay tuned for that. And as always, tell us what you thought. What did you think of Ann Radcliffe's poetry? Maybe
you didn't think they were that bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe you thought it was the worst thing that you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah, maybe you were like, these are way too kind. They're going light on her. They're showing favoritism. I'm a girl's girl, what can I say? And, let us know if there's anything you'd like us to cover in the future.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And doing whatever we want. It's our podcast.
That's right.
All right, well, anyways, peace out.
Yeah, that'll wrap it up.
Goodbye.